Today we're going through team building basics. Currently we're in Pokemon Sword and Shield Series 12, but this video is going to be relevant now and in the future. I'll see how well this video performs in the future. This will be fun. But before we get to it, I just want to say hit that like button, hit that subscribe button down below. Later in the video, I'm going to be stating good resources as the timing of filming this video, and also a tip on how to identify certain aspects of teams without having to team build yourself, so that you can get into the swing of things. That way when you go to make your own team, you've already got some form of practice. Let's get to it, shall we? So point number one is the idea. So we're gonna go straight into my Trick Room Tail and Whimsicott team because there were two ideas. So the first idea was basically I wanted to make a nice team around Yveltal and Groudon. Not that they are what is considered the core, that's coming up later, but more so I saw a video from Aaron Cybertron Zhang, awesome content creator by the way, and he had used a team featuring Yveltal and Groudon, and I thought that it was just super strong. So that's where Charizard and Venusaur came in. Landorus T, I wanted something with Intimidate basically, and then I had to figure out what goes next. I gave it some thoughts. I got thinking and I'm like, well, this team isn't particularly fast. It's not particularly slow either. It's kind of like in this middle ground. Venusaur is a bit quick with its ability, but I've gone, well, how do I go up against a fast team? How do I go up against a slow team? And the answer very quickly became, well, Tailwind and Trick Room. If I have a Pokemon that has both Tailwind and Trick Room, it's a win. The first thing I came across in Sword and Shield that could use both moves was Whimsicott. So I very quickly jumped on the Whimsicott bandwagon. And yeah, so the idea for this team in particular was Yveltal and Groudon. Let's make a team around those. And then how do I go up against fast team and slow teams? And that was the idea for this team. Let's go on to the next one. Now, this is one of the new teams that I've been working on. This particular variant of the team is the first variant and not the finished product. I want to show you the finished products later, but here is the initial team, and this team I wanted to build something around Tyranitar. Tyranitar's got a lot of bulk, it's also got a lot of power to it, and I thought that Zamazenta crowns with coaching to help increase its defense and its attack was absolute awesome idea, and in all fairness, it kind of is. I've also got a Whimsicott. This one is Eject Button with Tailwind and Charm. But yes, the idea for this was to build something around Tyranitar. So here's the finished product. It is different. There's no Tyranitar and there's no Whimsicott. I decided that coaching just works better with Zygarde over Tyranitar, and that in the battles that I was using Tyranitar into practice with, I just was losing more than what I was winning. And Whimsicott wasn't doing anything for me at the end of the day. So I had to change the idea, and I've gone, well, the team is actually working with particular Pokemon. How can I assist the team to work better? Then I've gone, well, I need an answer for Kyogre or Gastrodon. Katana is that answer. And then I'm going, I still need something. So I've decided that the only Pokemon from the initial concepts that I'm keeping was Zamazenta, Zygarde, Grimmsnarl. I needed Thundurus and Blastoise. This took me a few weeks to figure out, by the way. Thundurus is playing a supportive role. It's got a little bit of speed control. It's got a little bit of damage mitigation. It also sets up the rain for Blastoise. In fact, the Thundurus I'm using in Showdown doesn't have Thunderbolt, it has Thunder because it works better. But Blastoise as well has some form of pressure with Yawn, but it's got some pretty powerful moves at its disposal. Now let's go with my latest team. The idea behind this team, and I'm going to keep it short and sweet, was basically I wanted to have Calyrex Shadow Rider out, and I wanted to give it some form of defense against single target moves that I could go up against. And I wanted Indeedee female for that because it has Follow Me. It just became a perfect way of going, well, if I'm going up against Pokemon that only target one Pokemon at a time, Indeedee does so much for me, and it also mitigates priority moves that target my Pokemon. So that there is it for the idea. Now the next thing is the core, basically the main Pokemon you bring into the team and what you build the team around. So obviously for my Whimsicott team, Whimsicott is not a core, it's just the most unique Pokemon on the team because of its moveset. But the core is, in my opinion, if you're looking at the legendaries, it is Yveltal and Groudon. But if you're looking at the Pokemon probably a little bit more closer, it would probably be Groudon Charizard or Groudon Venusaur, depending on who I bring into battle. Just because of how their movesets are and also how the abilities work. For my latest team of Shadowx Calyrider, sure, the initial idea was Calyrex Shadow Rider and Indeedee, but really the core is Calyrex and Zacian. Everything is then built around those two Pokemon. For my team with Zamazenta and Zygarde, I'll say they are the core. Katana is like a pseudo core Pokemon, but they are the core Pokemon. So they are who I almost bring into battle every time and who I build the team around. Next, support Pokemon. Now, support Pokemon are very special. They can do damage. It's not that support Pokemon are unable to do damage, but it is that they are supporting the core to achieve the goal, which is to win. And to show you some really awesome support Pokemon, I'm actually in the Pokemon Showdown. Here is a team I haven't made. I decided to use a team that I saw on one of the American regionals for 2022, and it featured Palkia and Calyrex Ice Rider. Those two are the core Pokemon. Everything else is supportive, okay? Everything has a role to play to help the team achieve the goal. So it has Amoonguss, which has Rage Powder, basically redirection for single strike attacks. It's got Spore, that's sleep pressure. It's also got Pollen Puff, which can deal damage, but also it can heal my Pokemon. Porygon 2 has Eerie Impulse. Basically, the special attack of opposing Pokemon will get lowered. It's got Trick Room to help me gain the speed advantage, Foul Play to go into strong physical attackers, and Recover to heal itself. Indeedee, Follow Me, Redirection. Expanding Force is its damaging move, same with Mystical Fire, which also helps damage mitigation. It's also got Helping Hands to aid the strength of my own Pokemon. So basically, the idea for this team is that Palkia and Calyrex are the main damage dealers. We have Indeedee with Follow Me, and Amoonguss with Rage Powder. They use those moves while we get Trick Room out, and then we go hard when we have speed control. So the support Pokemon in this team help achieve the goal of get speed control so that we can win the game. My Whimsicott team. Sure, Yveltal has Snarl. To me, that's a bit more of a supportive move because it lowers the special attack of opposing Pokemon. Landorus has Intimidate, lowering the physical attack of opposing Pokemon. And Venusaur has Sleep Powder, some form of sleep pressure, but it's Whimsicott where the support is. It's got Tailwind to make my Pokemon faster. It's got Trick Room to help me go up against other Tailwind teams or Trick Room teams. Basically, to help me almost guarantee that I will have speed control and be able to win the game. My Zygarde team, Grimmsnarl and Thundurus, they have a support Pokemon. Grimmsnarl, damage mitigation. Thundurus has damage mitigation, speed control, so does Grimmsnarl, just with one move, though Thundurus' speed control is probably a little bit better. It sets up the rain for Blastoise, doing two things. One, weakening Charizard when they are under the sun, because there's no more sun. It's pissing down rain, which also makes my Blastoise stronger. Now, the next thing is basically a can of worms, and basically bunched 3 separate topics into the next step, which is abilities, items, moves. This is such like a can of worms that I want to try and not as much breeze through it, but get to the point as quick as possible to move on from abilities to items to moves as quick as possible, you know, so that this video doesn't end up forever long. So we're going to start with abilities. We're going to start with my Whimsicott team that has Trick Room and Tailwind, and basically go from there. I want to talk about a few Pokemon in each team and go through why the abilities are what they are and why they work so well. Firstly, we have Prankster. Basically, it gives Stardust moves an extra step in priority. So something that is neutral priority, a 0, now becomes a 1. That's the example. But we have Groudon with Drought. That automatically sets up the sun. We've got Charizard with Solar Power. Basically, that allows Charizard's special attacks, regardless of typing, to be stronger when it's under the sun. Chlorophyll for Venusaur works in not a similar way to the Solar Power, but when there's harsh sun, Venusaur has double the speed. So yes, Charizard's and Venusaur's ability works very well with Groudon, just because they get stronger when Groudon has achieved getting Harsh Sun out. Here we have my Zamazenta Zygarde team. Zygarde has Power Construct, meaning that when it gets below 50% health at the end of turn, Power Construct will activate and it will go into its complete form. It gets a little bit more health, meaning that it has a longer survivability rate than a lot of other Pokemon. Blastoise's ability Rain Dish means that it actually heals itself for a small amount of HP every turn as long as it's raining. Kartana being an Ultra Beast, it has Beast Boost. Basically, whichever stats the Pokemon has that is the highest stat, then Kartana gets a knockout, gets an opposing Pokemon to faint. Particular stat, in this case the attack stat, goes up by 1. And here we are with my Calyrex Shadow Rider team. Obviously Calyrex Shadow Rider has as 1, meaning that really it has 2 abilities. One, Unnerve, meaning that berries can't be eaten. Second, I can't exactly remember what the ability is called. Grim Neigh I think it is for Shadow Rider. But each time Calyrex gets a kill, its special attack goes up by 1 stat. Indeedee has Psychic Surge, which goes really well with Expanding Force that both Calyrex and Indeedee have, but also it prevents priority moves from targeting an opposing Pokemon, which does hurt my Sableye. We've got Thundurus as well on this team. This Thundurus has Defiance. Every time it gets a stat decrease, it will boost its attack by 2 stages, which even means that if it gets intimidated, it will lose 1 stage in attack to then gain 2. Either way, it's stronger. Next we have items, and I want to talk about a few items in particular because there are just so many. Some work and some don't. Sometimes it's situational as to whether or not they actually do work. You got items like Assault Vest, where it's really good on Groudon, it's good on Yveltal as well, and it's good on a few other Pokemon. But Assault Vest works in a way where it boosts the holder's special defense, but the holder cannot use any starter's moves. You can have them on the Pokemon, you just can't use them. Weakness Policy. Basically, if your Pokemon gets hit by a super effective attack and survives, you get +2 attack and special attack. And that's an item that you can self-activate. You can attack your own Pokemon to activate Weakness Policy. A popular example for Sword and Shield is Colossal or Colossal, whatever its name is, being hit by a water type attack because it activates 1, its ability Steam Engine, meaning that its speed instantly will go to +6, and also activates Weakness Policy, which gives it +2 attack and special attack. You've got a super quick and a super powerful Pokemon like that. You got items like Sugar Berry that Incineroar likes to hold. Basically, it's a lineup of berries that mean that if the holder of the berry, in this case Incineroar with Sugar Berry, gets hit by a ground type move, Sugar Berry's ability activates only once per battle, where you actually then achieve to mitigate the damage. So Sugar Berry lowers the damage of ground type moves once. But I've actually got an example of items working against trainers, and I've actually got one very prime example. I did a battle the other week where the opposing trainer had Regieleki and Whimsicott. First turn they get Tailwind, I get Trick Room, but it's the second turn where everything goes wrong. Because I got Groudon out. I switched Yveltal out for Groudon in that particular turn, and I had Groudon out ready to go. It was by far the slowest Pokemon on the field. For some reason the Whimsicott didn't do anything that would have had a +1 priority, like Switcheroo or Charm. It was either going for an attack, or it was trying to Trick Room itself to break my Trick Room. But regardless, the Regieleki had protected itself with Max Guard, it was Dynamaxed, but Groudon went Precipice Blades, hit the Whimsicott, ejects button activated, meaning that the trainer had to switch in a new Pokemon into the slot that Whimsicott was in. That Whimsicott was not getting off any moves that turn. They then send in Calyrex Shadow Rider, who frequently holds Focus Sash, meaning that if you're at full HP and you get hit by a move that will take you down to 0, you're instead left with 1 HP, meaning that you can get a attack out or a second attack out. But my Whimsicott was attacking that slots anyway. So I didn't take out the Calyrex, but I did enough damage to it that I broke Focus Sash, and the following turn I took out both Regieleki and Calyrex with just Groudon. So that there is an example of items that really are good not working well because of choices, but it's something to keep in mind. And now let's talk about moves. I've got a few moves I want to talk about just because, well, we thought items was going to be a lot and abilities, but there are so many more moves. Fuck me. But we have moves like Fake Out, a normal type attack that doesn't normally do much damage. As long as it makes contact, the opposing Pokemon that was targeted will flinch, guaranteed. If you get damage off, that Pokemon is going to flinch, it's not getting an attack out that turn. You got moves like Follow Me, which redirect single strike attacks to the Pokemon that used Follow Me. Same with Rage Powder. You have Coaching, which raises the attack and defense of your partner Pokemon. The user coaches the other Pokemon to be stronger, basically. Wash works in a very interesting way. It basically guarantees that the target Pokemon, as long as the move goes off properly, will move last as priority bracket. And then you have moves like Tailwind and Trick Room to help you achieve speed control for how your team is actually built. And probably the most popular move, Protect. You know, basic stuff. Your Pokemon, in theory, will survive another turn. And obviously there's a plethora of damage dealing moves that do different things. You have Wild Charge, which will do a decent amount of damage, but it will also deal recoil damage to your own Pokemon. And you have moves like Brick Break that will actually break screens. So Light Screen and Reflect will no longer be present as a battlefield's condition helping your opponent anymore, because you've just broken them and dealt damage all at the same time. So there's so many moves and they work in so many different ways that, you know, not even one video would actually probably do them justice, but there are powerful moves and you just gotta know what works with what and whatnot. Same with the items and abilities. Sometimes some abilities don't work well competitively. Now, the next point, IVs and EVs. This is a topic, especially for EVs, that I want to do its own video for. Basically what they are, IVs mean individual values and EVs mean effort values. So IVs are what the Pokemon is born with. They range from 0 through to 31. And basically, the more IVs a Pokemon has, the higher that stats will be. Each stat is 0 to 31 for IVs. Now you can train IVs through hyper training as of time of this video. EVs, effort values, they range from 0 to 252, but each Pokemon has a max of 510 EVs that it can have. And to make matters even more confusing, EV 509 and 510 are basically useless. So they don't actually do anything for you. If your Pokemon is level 100, then every 4 EVs is worth 1 stat point. And I just want to show you how they work differently at level 50. So here we are in Showdown. I'm proving the points here very quickly, and that Tyranitar's level 50, and I'm just going to go HP 4. Now, from 0 to 4, HP got 1 extra stat. But then, to get the next stat, if I were to go to 8, will it be going to go 8? No, it won't. So, from 4 to 8 at level 50 isn't worth anything extra. But 4 to 12, which is 8 EVs higher, you get 1 extra stat point. At level 50, the first 4 EVs is worth 1 stat point, and then every 8 consecutively after. Back to Picolytics, my Calyrex and Indeedee here are prime examples of generally the most popular variant of an EV spread, which is 2 stats are at 252 EVs, and the last stat has 4. I do have a follow-up video coming out where I go deeper into EVs. There's a lot. Basically, it's how your Pokemon are trained. Okay, well, almost at the end here. The next thing is modes. So the prime example of modes is you've got a Trick Room team, but maybe 1 or 2 of your Pokemon are actually super fast. So you have 2 Trick Room modes, but you also got a fast mode for when you're outside of Trick Room. Because once Trick Room ends and all your Pokemon are slow, you're in a really bad spot. But if you have Pokemon to bring in that are fast for a faster mode, it's not the end of the world. You're able to still do something very well. My Zamazenta Zygarde team, because of Thundurus's moveset and Blastoise, I've got, in a way that I can play the team. Basically, that's the definition of a mode, is I've got a rain mode where Blastoise gets stronger in the rain and also heals itself a little bit. But then I've also got the mode of making my own Pokemon stronger with Zamazenta having coaching, which helps Zygarde and Kartana. Now the resources that I alluded to earlier. So I've already shown you two, Pikalytics and Showdown. Pikalytics is a really good resource. One, it's got an awesome damage calculator. Also, it helps you build a team. Both help you build a team, but Pikalytics helps you build a team, especially to a meta or against a meta, because sometimes I'll show you the percentages that Pokemon are used, the moves are used, items are used, abilities are used, and even EV spreads. And you can export those teams to Showdown, where you can make tweaks in Showdown and export them or import them back into Pikalytics. Showdown allows you to trial the teams in the format. They got a whole bunch of game modes in Sword and Shield doubles, VGC 2022. I can try out teams that I make for Sword and Shield in Showdown to see how well they work before I actually make the team in the game. There's a website called a VGC Guide. It's got tips on how to team build, basics like this, battling tips. It's got how the actual circuit works for competitive play. It's got so much going for it, and it's a really good website to use if you just need to check up something to get a better idea on how a particular thing works. Like, why do you deal less damage when you're burnt with a physical attacker? And lastly, Victory Road VGC. They host their own tournaments for one, but they have pages of rental teams that you can use. They'll have the rental code and a PokePaste. PokePaste is a website where you can paste Showdown teams or Pikalytics teams onto that website and share your team with other people, and all that information can be copy and pasted from PokePaste into Showdown, into Pikalytics. But not only does Victory Road VGC have all these rental teams, they also state where they got the rental teams from, who was the player, and how well that team did. And lastly, they also have what is called team reports. Basically, it is a team that has done really well, and someone has done a report on that team on how to use it. And this all leads up to my team building tip. The last one. So this whole video has been tips on how to go about team building, what you need to know. But if you are a beginner team builder and all this is daunting, here's the biggest tip that you can know. It's okay to use someone else's team. If you want to build your own team, use someone else's first. And with that, take the time to go, well, who is the core? Who is the support? Why do these moves work the way they do? Why does the abilities help this team win? And the items. Maybe find out what the EV spreads are. If you have the team in Sword and Shield, use that team and have a look at the stats of the Pokemon. Then put that team of those stats into Showdown, Pikalytics. Try and achieve those stats. You'll then figure out the EV spreads and the IVs as well. Sometimes you don't have any IVs into speed or attack. You then pick up being able to identify what Pokemon level core and what Pokemon support and everything, which then when you go to build your own team for the first time or the 10th time, you've already started practicing team building as it is. It's like a whole wax on wax off approach. But anyway, that's all I have for you for this video. I really hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button down below, as well as the subscribe button. And you know, leave a comment on this video, even if it's just like a happy emoji. It helps me out. And I hope that this video helps a lot of you out as well. And yeah, I hope you all watch my next video. And check out some of my current contents. Check out what I've already got. See ya.